Welcome to Lesson 4 of Unit 11, Home for a Penguin. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, what makes matter change? They will explore properties of matter and how it changes by observing a small candle when it is exposed to heat. They describe parts of the candle using material properties and figure out that some changes are reversible and others are not. In the Engage, students will use the scientific process to investigate candles in small groups. Start by returning to the scientific process poster on Student Journal page 4 and review the steps. Then, using Student Journal pages 12 and 13, Candle Changes, review the 3 headings: Question, Learn all you can, and Make a hypothesis. Give groups time to describe the properties of the candle and make a prediction about how each property will change. Share out predictions as the groups finish. In the Explore, students will observe as the teacher lights a candle and lets it burn to melt the wax, changing a solid into a liquid. For this lab, you will need a candle, a box of matches, and half of a petri dish from the MySci kit. Using a document camera or gathering students safely around a table to observe may be helpful. Start by directing students back to Student Journal page 13, Candle Changes, asking them to record what they think will happen if heat is added to the candle. Encourage them to be specific about what they predict will happen to the metal, the wick, and the wax. Give them time to draw a picture of the candle before heating here. Then, light at least one candle and let it burn to melt some of the wax. Pour out some of the melted wax into the petri dish so that students can observe the liquid, and then ask them to reflect back on the hypothesis they made before the candle was heated. In the Explain, use the question prompts shown here to discuss their observations. Explain to students that the wax, wick, and metal are all matter that changed in different ways when they were heated. Then pass around the petri dish to show them the wax. Engage in a discussion about how the wax was a solid, then a liquid, and is now a solid again. Be sure students gain an understanding that the heat from the flame melted the wax, but now that it is cooled, it is a solid again. Explain that for some objects that change states of matter, the changes are reversible. Ask for other examples of things that turn from a solid to a liquid and back because of temperature. Then read this book, All About Matter, to the class. A detailed read-aloud guide is on Teacher page 11. Continue to explain by showing students this video about matter. There are also 2 readings about matter that may be helpful to share with students. Ask them to provide descriptions of properties of solids and liquids, creating an anchor chart to describe the states of matter and properties of matter in each state. Read the first 3 pages of reversible and irreversible changes. Then use these question prompts to discuss. See if students can return to their drawing of the candle and label the parts that changed with heat. Then see if they can differentiate between a reversible and an irreversible change, using the candle as an example. Melting the wax is reversible, while burning the wick is not. In the Elaborate, another lab will help support students to apply what they have learned to their penguin habitat. For this lab activity, students will need petri dishes, thermometers, a heat lamp, pipettes, measuring cups, and penguin ice cubes. Show them the materials and then remind them that penguins from Antarctica like cold water and ice. In this experiment, they will investigate how the ice cube will change when heat is added. Ask them how they can investigate this, what questions they could ask, and what they could measure. After the discussion, set up the heat lamp, thermometer, and petri dishes with ice. Place one dish under the heat lamp and another away from the lamp. Leave the lamp turned off until the students make their prediction about what will happen once the lamp is on. Then turn on the lamp to begin the experiment. As you are waiting for the ice to melt, show this video, Changing Water. Ask students if water changes and if the changes are reversible. Encourage them to explain their thinking during the discussion. After about 10 minutes, direct students back to the heat lamp experiment to record their observations. Students will draw what they see on water changes. Student Journal page 14 and 15. Measure and record the temperature under the heat lamp and away from the heat lamp using the thermometer. Then share this data with students so that they can record it. Use the pipette to measure the volume of liquid water that melted from the ice in each Petri dish. Record this data as well. Discuss the results of the experiment with the class and compare it with their predictions. Then draw a conclusion about how the heat lamp affected the ice melting. In the Evaluate, discuss with students how the ice melting experiment results can be used to guide their decisions in choosing materials for their penguin habitat. Direct them back to the Evaluate on Student Journal page 15, Water Changes. Ask them to draw and label what happens to different materials in the habitat if they get too warm. Be sure that students consider the glass, rocks, ice, snow, and water in the picture. By the end of this lesson, students will apply the scientific process to experiments involving heat and change of state. They will also explain that some changes are reversible while others are not.